Testing. Can everybody hear me? Comment if you can or tweet us. Welcome to the Bloomsbury Winter 2017 Blogger Preview. I'm Erica Barmash. I'm the Marketing Director here at Bloomsbury Children's, and you're going to hear from me first, and then you'll hear from some other members of the team. If you'd like to tweet along with us and talk about your reactions to the books while you're watching, the hashtag to use is Bloomsbury Winter Preview. So, before we get started on the winter books, I thought it would be fun to have a little bit of show and tell. If you follow us on Twitter, you might have seen that we posted that we got this, Sarah J. Maas's Empire of Storms. It has arrived in the office. Copies are shipping to bookstores across the country right now, and it will be on sale on September 6th. It looks amazing. This is the front. This is the back. And I can confirm that it is just as long as Queen of Shadows. It only seems smaller. It's printed on thinner paper, but there is just as much amazing story inside this book as you've been expecting. Also on sale September 6th is the Throne of Glass coloring book. We are so excited to have this coloring book. There are amazing drawings of every single character. My favorite is one of Lysandra that I can't show you yet, but which you'll see if you get the book. And in case you don't know about it, we are running a pre-order promotion. If you pre-order Empire of Storms and send us your receipt, you'll get one of these awesome notebooks. It has the "You Could Rattle the Stars" quote on the front and some of the names on the back. And if you pre-order the coloring book, you will get these Throne of Glass pencils. It's kind of hard for you guys to see, but they do say the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas on them. So to continue our show and tell, a little bit later in September, we have another amazing book on sale, and that's Stealing Snow by Danielle Page. I hope you guys can kind of see some of the effects on the cover here, on the mirror and on the title. It just looks amazing in person. We are so excited to be publishing with Danielle. She is the author of the Dorothy Must Die series with Harper, but this is her first book with us. It's the start of a new series. It's a retelling of the Snow Queen, and it's so much fun and such a great romance. And if you pre-order this one, you will get this awesome compact mirror, as well as a quote sticker. We held a contest for fans to vote on their favorite quote that we've released so far, and we'll be making a sticker out of it. So those books are all on sale in September. Pre-order them, tell us what you think of them, and now let's move on to winter. So I'm going to start with, sorry everybody that I can't seem to grasp how to hold the book up correctly. Maybe I'll get it by the end. So this is The Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles. This is on sale January 31st. It's a YA thriller. Some of you may have gotten copies of it in our blogger mailing or at BEA or ALA. And so this may be something you've already heard me say many times, but I'm so excited for this book. Jeff is the former editor at Entertainment Weekly. So he kind of got to know YA firsthand by covering a lot of YA books in the magazine Twilight, Hunger Games. He was part of the team that really brought YA coverage to Entertainment Weekly. So it's really exciting to have this book from him. He's a huge fan of YA, and that is part of what motivated him to write this book. So the book starts with a girl named Zoe who lives in Montana with her mother and her younger brother in sort of a snowy, deserted, woody area. I'm from the city, so I don't really know how to describe it. But it's a snowstorm. Her family is grieving the recent death of her father. And so she and her brother are alone in the snowstorm. They're stranded at their house. Their mom was in town getting supplies and can't make it back. So Zoe's only job is just to, keep her brother safe in the snowstorm. And she's trying to do that when she realizes that he has snuck out of the house into the woods. It's below many degrees below zero outside, and so she goes after him. And finally, she finds him, and he's at the house of their sort of pseudo-grandparents, like neighbors who acted like grandparents for them, who have also recently passed away. And while they are there, she and her brother Jonah are attacked by a terrible dirtbag man. And he is about to kill them. He cares not at all for the fact that they are children or anything like that. And they're rescued by this sort of hunky teenage guy. And it turns out that this guy is not a normal guy. He is actually a bounty hunter from a land very similar to hell, and he has been sent to Earth to claim lost souls. So when I say bounty hunter from hell, I feel like for some people those are like magic words, and they're like, oh my God, I have to read this. And other people are like, And what I love about this book is that the people in the book react the way you would react if someone in your life brought home a guy and said, oh, this guy saved my life. He's a bounty hunter from hell. Can he stay with us, Mom? You know, Zoe's mom is like, what the heck are you talking about? No, this teenage guy who found you in the woods can't stay with us. What? No, he's not from hell. What are you talking about? And that's what I liked about it, is that mix of reality and fantasy, because at its heart, it's a book about a family recovering from grief. It's about breaking away from your parents and learning that your parents' mistakes don't have to define you. It's about falling in love, although it is not, the romance is sort of a small portion of the whole book. And really, I mean, what I loved about it the most is that I think Jeff is just such an amazing writer, and it's such a gripping book. And you definitely want to know what happens, but the line-by-line writing is also so beautiful. And I am, of course, not the only person who thought that. If you got the galley, you probably saw that there's a quote from Peter Jackson on the back, the Peter Jackson. We also have a quote from James Dashner that says, every human alive should read this book. Dead people don't have to, I guess, but everyone alive definitely should. And we've got some other author quotes. You can kind of see how many. But the one amazing thing I wanted to call out is that I wanted to thank some bloggers who gave us some early quotes for this arc. Thank you, Alexa. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Celeste, if you're watching. It was really great to get your feedback, and thank you so much for reading this book quickly and very, very early. And I hope you'll help me spread the word on it. So again, that is on sale January 31st. Jeff will tour, so a lot of you will get to meet him. He is so, so, so funny in person. He has amazing stories from working at Entertainment Weekly. He indulged me in talking about my favorite celebrities like Scott Speedman, and told me some great Tom Cruise stories from my husband. So he is super fun, and I hope that a lot of you guys get a chance to meet him. The next book I'm going to talk about is a middle grade, and it's Simon Thorne and the Viper's Pit by Amy Carter. So this is the second book in the series. The first one, Simon Thorne and the Wolf's Den, came out last year. A lot of you may also know Amy because she wrote YA books before she started in middle grade. I love this series so much, and I really encourage anyone who thinks that they don't really read middle grade, you know, they're not a librarian or a teacher or a bookseller, and so they don't really necessarily have any reason to read middle grade. I really encourage you to read it because as an adult, I still really enjoyed it. And I think part of that is just the way that Amy writes, not only about people, but also about animals. As an animal lover, you can really see the sensitivity and the warmth that Amy has when she's talking about animals. So without spoiling anything from the first book, Simon Thorne is about a boy named Simon Thorne, not surprisingly. And Simon is kind of an outcast. He lives in New York City with his uncle. His mother is always away for work. He hardly ever gets to see her. And Simon thinks that he is the weirdest person on earth because he has discovered that he can talk to animals. And he does not want anyone to find this out because he's already kind of thought of at school as being a little weird, and he knows that if anyone else knew, they would just think he was insane. And so eventually Simon's mom does come back, and he's so excited to have her back, but she's immediately kidnapped by a giant horde of rats. It's disgusting. And Simon then realizes that he can talk to animals. He's not the only one who can talk to animals. In fact, his whole family can talk to animals, and they're part of a secret race of animal shapeshifters headquartered at the Central Park Zoo. So it's just so much fun the way Amy creates this world of animal shapeshifters. The Central Park Zoo is the cover for a school for young animal shapeshifters. So in addition to Simon, there's my favorite character, Jam, who is actually a dolphin. There is Ariana, who is a spider, and there's lots of other really, really cool characters. I just love these books. I think they're so much fun. After the first one, I couldn't wait to find out what happens, and the second one did not disappoint. Okay, and the third book from me is Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson. This is on sale on Valentine's Day. And this is a YA book, and this is a book that really, really affected me in a huge way. I think a lot of us have heard the saying that books can be windows and mirrors. So they can be a mirror of your own experience and help you understand your own experience in a new way, but they can also be a window into other people's experiences. And that's what this book was for me. It was both. It tells the story of Jade. Jade is a young African-American girl living in Portland. She lives in a predominantly black neighborhood, but she travels every day to go to a private school in a mostly white neighborhood on scholarship. The catalyst for the story is that Jade is offered the opportunity to take part in a mentorship group, and this is treated as though it is a huge opportunity for her. It's a group for at-risk girls. And so Jade is really conflicted because on the one hand, she doesn't want to turn down an opportunity. She knows that opportunities are few and far between. On the other hand, she's really frustrated because she doesn't feel like she's at risk of anything. And she feels like she's being singled out because she's not as wealthy, because she's black, because she lives in a different neighborhood. And she's being given an opportunity, but she's not being given the kind of opportunities that she really wants. She's being given opportunities based on things that she doesn't believe she should be given opportunities for. I just love the way Renee writes about Jade. It's written in sort of like an episodic way, and each chapter is so poetic and so beautiful. And the way that it was a window and a mirror to me was that when I was in high school, I traveled over an hour a day to go to school. I came from a sort of middle class-ish neighborhood, and a lot of the kids at my school were a lot wealthier than I was. They just came from sort of a different background where education was really prized, and their parents were readers, and my parents have never read books ever. And so I always felt really out of place. And so this book acted as a mirror for me because it reminded me and showed me my own experience and gave me new insight into it. But it also acted as a window, in the sense that I started thinking, well, okay, I always felt out of place in high school, but I'm white. I looked exactly like everyone else. So even though I felt like everyone could tell I was different, really they couldn't just by looking at me. And so I started thinking, well, what if I had had that experience, but I was also black? And so everyone knew that I was different or immediately thought that I was different from seeing me. And what would that have been like? And so it made me reflect back on my own experience. And I feel like it's not rare at all for a YA book to make me reflect on my high school experience. That's basically like my entire reading life. But this one really caused me to think about it, not just in a nostalgic way and in a fun way, but to really reevaluate it and think about it. It's so wonderful and so important. And I just want to show the cover again because I think it's amazing and beautiful. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it over to someone else.
Hey guys, I'm Emily. This is Murray. You didn't think Murray would be left out, did you? Side note, I'm watching your tweets, so make sure you're tweeting with us with hashtag Bloomsbury Winter Preview. I'll see them. We're also Snapchatting live, so if you want to Snapchat me, do it. Okay, so I've got 3 books to chat about. The first is the 5th? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 5th book in a series. It's a middle grade. This is the first one, Tuesdays at the Castle. I love these books. I love Jessica. She's also got a YA book, Silver in the Blood, if you love Jessica. But this one is kind of misleading because we're redesigning the covers for all of the books. So I don't even have a cover for Saturdays to show you yet. But look for that online around early September, and I'll have 5 new covers to show you. But in Saturdays, they leave the castle for the first time and go on a grand adventure. There's a lot of dogs. There's a ship made of parts of the castle. And there may or may not be unicorns. Every time we get a new Jessica Day George book that's launched to us from editorial, you can see me in the corner of the meeting going, but are there unicorns? Editorial just looks at me and rolls their eyes. But there are unicorns in this one. Or are there? So check out Saturdays at Sea, A Great Adventure from Jessica Day George. My next book is also a middle grade, but it's a little younger. It's by one of our favorite authors, Edie Baker. And there's more magical animals. This seems to be a theme. Okay, so this is Magic Animal Rescue, Maggie and the Flying Horse. And I love Edie Baker. No matter what book she's written, I'm hooked. This one was a really quick read, and Maggie is living near an enchanted forest with her stepfamily, and she keeps running into all these magical animals. Little horseflies, a unicorn, trolls, and her stepfamily doesn't believe her. They think she's making it all up. They think she's really lazy. And so she gets into all these adventures with animals and gets in a lot of trouble with her family. But in this one, she finds a little horsefly whose wing is broken. So she journeys across the forest to Bob the stableman. He's a magic animal stable. And she meets him. She meets all his magical animals. She finds out that she's not crazy. And it's a really sweet adventure. And then it gets even better because this arc is a flip arc. And there's a second book. And this one's about a wish fish. And if you know anything about wish fishes, you know that they're trouble. So Maggie meets a wish fish and gets in a little bit of trouble. But it's a really fun adventure. And these books also have black and white illustrations throughout. There's some flying pigs, if you can see those. Trouble. So these are really cute books, great for younger readers. My sister's a 3rd grade teacher, and I know I will be sending her both of these. Book 1 and 2 are on sale at the same time next April. And then finally, my 3rd book is a YA I'm super, super excited about. This is Nowhere Near You by Leah Thomas. If you haven't read Because You'll Never Meet Me, stop watching me right now. Get out. Go read it. Go to the library, go to the bookstore. I loved Because You'll Never Meet Me, and everybody else did too. It was an Indies Introduced pick. It was a Moritz finalist. Every time we take Leah to conferences or festivals, she's a huge hit. She was at Comic-Con this year, and she was the best dressed I have ever seen. She's a cosplayer, and if you've seen a picture from her panel, it's literally like a bunch of white dudes and Leah in like full cosplay, and it's the greatest photo I have ever seen. So Leah is amazing, and this book is also amazing. This is a sequel to Because You'll Never Meet Me. Ollie and Moritz continue their correspondence, but Ollie leaves the woods for the first time, and Moritz goes to a new school, and both of them meet a bunch of abnormal children like themselves, and they're trying to figure out still why they're the way they are. Ollie really wants to meet other kids like him and really bring them inspiration, but it's actually kind of hard, and when you're allergic to electricity, everything's kind of hard. So both of them find a lot of hardship, and their letters are heartbreaking and beautiful, and I want to be friends with both of them so much. But this book is just really, really gorgeous and fun, and you should read it. It's great. Okay, those are my books. I'm going to pass it over to Courtney, but make sure you keep tweeting at me and send me a Snapchat.
Hi guys, I'm Courtney. I sadly don't have a sock puppet. Sorry in advance. But the first book I have to tell you about is called How to Outsmart a Billion Robot Bees, which is not the title that's on the cover. That changed. So this is the old title. It's going to be coming out in March, and it is the second book in Paul Tobin's Genius Factor series. So if you remember from the first book, it's about Nate and Delphine, two friends. Nate is this genius kid who's always coming up with crazy things to do every Friday the 13th. So, surprise, they lived through the last Friday the 13th. So, in this book, they have to try to make it through Saturday the 14th. And there's another organization after them to sabotage them. There's a billion bees. This is just a really fun, really cute middle grade series, especially for kids who love science. It's very funny and there's a lot of humor, but there's also a lot of really great science in here. And Paul Tobin is an Eisner Award winner. He writes comics for Marvel and DC and the very popular Plants vs. Zombies series, so definitely check that out if you're a fan of those. The next book I have, we're very excited about. It's called One Last Word by Nikki Grimes, and this is a very special and unique poetry collection. Nikki talks, there's some front matter in the beginning and author's note and a preface about the Harlem Renaissance and how the poets of that era inspired Nikki's work. And so what she's done in this book is taken a lot of those poems that have inspired her, and she uses a form called the golden shovel. And so I hadn't heard of this before, you guys may have, but basically you take a line from the original poem and you put one word from that line in each row. So I'll show you a little example. So here's just Nikki explaining how the method works. So the challenge for her then is to use this original line and create her own poem. Which can be hard because she has to make it make sense, still honoring the original because, she's bound by the poet's words, but still coming up with something new and exciting. And also in this book, there are full color illustrations from lots of award-winning African-American illustrators. So this is something we're really excited for. It's coming in January, so be sure to check that out as well. And last is Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. It has a beautiful cover, as you can see. This book is so good, definitely one of my favorites. Bridget is the author of the Elemental series, and this book is about two teenagers who are both coping with grief and loss in different ways. It starts out with Juliet, who has recently lost her mother. She was a photojournalist who traveled all over the world, and so to keep in touch, they always wrote letters to each other. So Juliet, even after her mom's passing, continues to write letters at the cemetery. And there we meet Declan, who's doing community service at the cemetery. He reads the letters, and the two begin having an exchange. Little do they know they actually know each other and go to school together, but are not from the same crowd, have preconceived notions about each other, and beautiful romance forms. But there's a lot of depth to these characters. That's something that Bridget does so well. There's relationships with parents and step-parents and friends, and there's just so much going on here, and it's one of those books that you read and keep thinking about afterward. So, highly recommended. And that is all, and now here's Lizzie.
Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I'm excited to be here. All right, so I've got our last two books. Last but definitely not least, we've got Prisoner of Ice and Snow by Ruth Lauren, which is a debut middle grade novel that we are all incredibly excited about here. I like to think of it as Prison Break meets Frozen. It's essentially about two sisters who live in a world that is similar to many other fantasy worlds you may have read about in the past, but it's just so beautifully done. And in this world, there is a prison for criminals who are underage, and one of the main character's sister has been imprisoned, and so she gets herself arrested in order to go into the prison and break her sister out. So it's so well done, you guys. I cannot wait for you to read this book. It really, it's about 13-year-old Valor, who once she's in the prison needs to, figure out a way to get her sister out. And she does this using her incredible smarts and some resources. And, but what she learns is that there is a much bigger plot afoot that she didn't realize when she went into this. So it's beautifully written. It's perfectly epic fantasy. It's just what we like to call a throne of glass for your little sister, I think. It is so good. So make sure you check out Prisoner of Ice and Snow. It's the first book in a series, so there will be more to come from that too. And then my next book is from Len Vlahos, who you guys may know as the author of Scarboys, which was a Morris Award finalist. So this is his new book, Life in a Fishbowl, which is about a girl named Jackie who finds out that her father has an inoperable brain tumor, and he has auctioned off his life rights, and the person who has snapped them up on eBay is a reality TV executive. So obviously you can imagine that kind of throws everything into turmoil, having your worst and most devastating moments being broadcast on TV. So Jackie sort of fights back by trying to going behind the scenes and doing a behind the scenes type of expose, which does not go over very well with reality TV executives, as I'm sure you can imagine. But really, I mean, it's a story about family, and it's a story. Despite having such a traumatic backstory, it's got really fun moments. It's really funny. Jackie's a great character, and you can tell it's truly realistic. It's exactly what you think would happen. As Erica said about The Edge of Everything, everybody's reactions to things are exactly as you would expect them to be. So incredibly realistic, aside from the talking tumor. You actually get to hear from the tumor itself. So it's just really, really well done, and I think that you will love Len, who, by the way, is also the owner of Tattered Cover in Denver. So if you are in Denver, make sure you stop by and say hey to him, because it's also just an incredible bookstore chain. So check that out. But I think you guys will all love these books, and I'm very excited for you all to read them. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. That's actually the end of our show here. So I'm going to gather the rest of the team to come around and say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We love seeing you. Well, seeing you. So make sure you tweet at us, Snapchat, all that kind of stuff. I have no idea. I don't do Snapchat, but I'm sure it's fun. All right. Bye everyone.